welcome. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to invite you to take a moment with me to remember our deployed military members who cannot be home like most of us can be. It is a cause that is near and dear to my husband's heart and therefore my own as well. And if you feel like it, take a moment with us. Enjoy your video. Bye-bye. TGIF, everybody. I hope you're doing great. I hope you've had a great week. Here is Friday's fraud law review. This one is huge. It's Florida. I am not going to say the individuals' names. They have been indicted as of late June 2020. It is such a massive scandal, in my opinion. So let's get to it, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. So these gentlemen who are in their 60s now in Florida have been indicted in connection with a fraud scheme that involves stealing more than $100 million from a nonprofit organization, which presumably they owned and ran, that managed funds for, get this, and by the way, it was out of Clearwater, funds for vulnerable individuals with special needs and disabilities. Now, you know how we talk about special needs trusts, often necessary, I shouldn't say often, sometimes necessary for SSI beneficiaries, disabled beneficiaries. There could also be senior beneficiaries. So special needs trusts are a specific kind of trust accepted by the SSA that allows the person to continue to get SSI benefits, which sometimes then means Medicaid, despite by taking a bunch of money, perhaps an inheritance or anything like that, and putting it into a special needs trust where they are no longer in control of that money. And it's handled by a trustee who gives them what they need, and or more than that, as long as it's, in conformity with SSI rules for great quality of life, right? It's usually not used for small amounts because the cost of setting up an S&T is probably not very cheap, but therefore it's used for people who maybe the parents passed away and leave all their assets to their only disabled child who never was able to work and was always on SSI or something like that. Okay, so two gentlemen here, according to the indictment and other court documents, around the year 2000, so we're talking 25 years ago, man number one, we'll call him G, co-founded something called Center for Special Needs Trust Administration, CSNT. It's a nonprofit that managed funds for the individuals with disabilities and other special needs, including those who received settlements, court awards, and other payments. CSNT, this nonprofit, it didn't profit, clearly. Its creators may have. We see this all the time, don't we? Would this be an NGO, by the way? CSNT apparently grew to be one of the largest administrators of special needs trusts in the entire country, USA, with beneficiaries located in Florida and nationwide. And as of a few months ago, in February 2024, this Center for Special Needs Trust Administration managed more than 2,000 special needs trusts containing approximately $200 million in assets. The indictment alleges that from June of 2009 through mid-2025, which is like right now, these, we'll say G and W and their other co-conspirators solicited, stole, and misappropriated CSNT client beneficiary funds, which they treated as a slush fund to enrich themselves and others, and concealed their illegal activities through complex financial transactions and deceits, including sending fraudulent account statements with false balances to disabled victims and their families. G allegedly used stolen money to purchase real estate, travel via private jet, fund a brewery, make deposits in his personal bank accounts, and pay debts. In February of 2024, so a year and a half ago, third ago, CSNT, this guy's little golden goose, if you will, filed for bankruptcy and disclosed that more than $100 million in client beneficiary funds was missing from its trust accounts. G is also charged with bank fraud related to $3 million in mortgage refinance loan and the alleged laundering of over $200,000 of the fraud proceeds to pay off a home equity line of credit on his residence. Sorry. He is further alleged to have made false declarations to the bankruptcy court related to the CSNT bankruptcy proceedings. Unbelievable. You know, it makes you wonder, let's say they were just doing it for a little bit and not too much money, and then they could stop themselves. They probably never would have gotten caught, which is sad enough, which is pathetic enough, but they just couldn't stop. $100 million. That's half of the fund, which is other people's money. Disabled, vulnerable people. I guess they thought nobody was checking. I wonder how it came out. I would love to know the backstory. Let me see if they tell us anything. They were accused of creating a slush fund to divert millions of dollars away from a nonprofit organization, which is CSNT, helping people with special needs. I mean, the one guy created CSNT, obviously for an illicit purpose, and people trusted them. So not only were the organization's resources drained, but the accused subjects betrayed the trust of the community and ultimately bankrupted a lifeline for vulnerable families. And this is according to FBI Criminal Investigation Division Assistant Director Jose Perez. The scale and audacity, he says, are deeply troubling. And it is. I mean, it's so bad anyway. Let's say it was 50 grand and that's it. That is horrible. Here we get 100 million. I mean, it is audacious. I would like to see these guys never see daylight. If they get a slap on the wrist, I will go ballistic. I can't imagine any judge, and particularly if it's in Florida, I don't think they're going to tolerate it too much. If this was in Massachusetts, I would expect a slap on the wrist and maybe a little, but I don't know. I don't know that Florida is going to tolerate this. They should be getting life in prison or the multiple counts. You know how like sometimes someone does something for 20 years over and over and over again and they get caught once and they get one count. Oh, you got your 5 years in prison or whatever. This is like, how many years? What do they say? 9? So where are we at? Over 15 years of known. No, it's known. What about the other years that maybe they don't know about because maybe there's no bank records or I don't know. But that's insane. And of course, we're not saying the names because they have not been convicted. They're only accused at this point. And as you know, innocent until proven guilty. I have a feeling this one's going to sink like a ship, though. Anyway, so we won't say the name. There's plenty of time for that later. And I'm sure it's in the newspapers. Okay, how bad is that? And does anybody here agree that they should probably not see the light of day? With the amount of times they repeat it, every time you spend money that's not yours, that's a separate count. And they're never going to get it. There's probably been thousands of these, purchases using the money. And they're never going to probably charge them with all of them because you have to prove each one individually. So, unless you please. I would like to think that it's going to be never seeing the light of day again outside prison walls. Am I watch for that? I don't think so. What do you think? Bye, guys. Hello again. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful, if not just a little bit informative. In the event you have a Social Security question you want addressed, please feel free to make a comment below and ask the question, even if nothing to do with this particular video. And just a quick, again, reminder, we have our daily video shares and tips around noon every day of the week. And on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have our live Q&A session where you can come in live and enter your questions in the chat. And we all pretty much have a good time for an hour or two. I look forward to seeing you there, hopefully. And lastly, don't forget about our benefactor memberships. They're very reasonably priced. The first one is very nominal and you get a few perks, but on a bigger scale, it contributes to us being able to fulfill a mission of assisting certain people with representation that would otherwise not be able to get it. We look forward to continuing to do that. And so far it's working out like the bomb. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Bye-bye now.